Hey MFFLs, we got a Jaden Hardy episode coming up on Mavericks today, and if you want more Mavericks content for free throughout the offseason, look no further, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, because Coop and I are going to have you covered all offseason. And with that being said, Jaden Hardy, what's his role short term? What's his future with this team? We're going to talk about it here on Dallas Mavericks Today. He's Jeffrey Cooperstein. I am Harrison Graham. Jaden Hardy, Coop, entering, I think, pretty clearly a make-or-break deal with the Mavericks, not only because it's the final year of his rookie contract, but because 2 years into this thing, we've seen flashes, we've seen good play, we've certainly seen bad play. We really don't know where he fits in with the organization, both short and long term. So certainly they got to figure out what their plans are for him moving forward.
Absolutely. They traded up to get him in the 2022 draft. They didn't have a second-round pick, and they kind of just bought one to try to go get him. He was the fourth-ranked player in his class in high school, so he was very highly thought of, spent time with the G League Ignite there. And the Mavs really liked his ability, especially on the offensive end. And he has shown that in the NBA so far in his young career. His rookie year was even better on the offensive end than last year. He played a little bit more. Different circumstances, obviously, but you can see the numbers on the screen. Like, he can score. He is an NBA scorer, and that is a skill that he has that can translate in the league. There are just some things that he does or doesn't do, for that matter, that I don't think Jason Kidd fully trusts him yet, and he's going to have to find another level, frankly, if he's going to be in this Mavericks rotation going forward.
Yeah, I do want to just add this disclaimer, too, of I think for where they got him in the draft, he's been fine. I mean,
absolutely.
He's a second-round pick that is at times been in the rotation in his first 2 years in the NBA. I think that's better than most second-round picks. It's just with how deep this team is now and what they're trying to do in terms of winning a championship, can he contribute to that on a consistent basis? Obviously, in the playoffs last year, second and third round, he did contribute. He was good against Oklahoma City. He was pretty solid against Minnesota, but he can only play limited minutes because he's not a great defender and he's kind of a tweener offensively. He's kind of a shooting guard in a point guard's body. So, I think one thing that was promising, Coop, for me in the playoff run this year is I felt like he got more comfortable as a distributor, especially in kind of that pick and roll alley-oop game. Threw a couple of nice oops. Now, that's not the whole thing of playing point guard.
Of course.
That's just one specific type of set, but I thought that looked pretty smooth from him. So if he can improve more as kind of a floor general, I don't think he'll ever be a full-time point guard, but if he can add more in that regard and obviously improve as a defender, I think that's where he really needs to improve to get more minutes, then I still think there's a chance for him to be a part of this long term. I mean, it's not like Spencer Dinwiddie's on a long-term deal.
Right, he's a one-year guy.
Who knows? Maybe 40 games into the year, it's like, Hardy gives you more than Dinwiddie. I don't know. I think Dinwiddie's going to get the first crack, but the point is the Mavs have brought in a lot of depth and competition. They're not like banking on Jaden Hardy being a make-or-break piece for this team. If he's good, awesome. If not, they've got plenty of ammunition in other directions to go to.
And another thing that I think is in Hardy's favor is he's certainly not scared of the moment mentally. I do think he has kind of a dog mentality about him. I mean, he's not afraid to go up against anyone, even if it's perceived that he might be outmatched. And I think that's important, especially on a winning team, to have a guy who that if you have to throw him in there in case of emergency or whatever the case may be, that he's ready to go do a job. And I do think Hardy has that going for him. So there are a couple of things there that I really do believe that he does have a future in the league. Whether it's with the Mavericks, I don't know, and I think he's going to have to show a lot this year in order to fully earn Jason Kidd's trust.
Is this Jaden Hardy's last year in Dallas? We'll make this the pinned comment on today's video. Type Y for yes, type in for no. After this YouTube ad break, we'll dive into this a little bit further. You look at the guards on this roster, Coop. I mean, if you're Jaden Hardy, look, there's a bit of an uphill battle. I mean, obviously you're not doing anything to limit Luka or Kyrie minutes, but can you outplay a Spencer Dinwiddie? Can you outplay a Dante Exum? One thing Exum has over the other two is he's going to defend at least at an above-average clip. So that's going to give him an opportunity, and if he continues to shoot like he did last year, he's going to be in there. One thing Dinwiddie does over the other two is he's clearly the best floor general and creator out of those three offensively. Not just to score, but to get others involved as well. So, Jaden Hardy, if he's going to get an opportunity, A, he's got to improve defensively, like I said, and B, I think he's got to continue to progress as a ball handler and creator as an offensive talent.
Yeah, the position battle, now that I'm kind of just looking at this, is probably between Hardy and Dinwiddie, right? Like, if Hardy completely outplays Dinwiddie and just wows in the preseason and training camp, maybe that's the adjustment Jason Kidd makes. It's not like they have a lot of money tied to Dinwiddie. He's on a veteran minimum deal for all we know. And Jaden Hardy as well, they're not tied. So I think that's the true position battle. I think Dante Exum will find minutes for the aforementioned reasons, like you said, is defending. And maybe his three-point shooting, he was terrible in the game that Australia just choked away earlier today. We'll talk about that here at the end of the show. But I do think that Hardy and Dinwiddie are going to be fighting for minutes. Dinwiddie obviously has the upper hand as the floor general and as the elder statesman, so to speak. But I think that's where his minutes could increase if he outplays them like that.
Dive into this a little bit more. But first, got to talk about our sponsor, Game Time. If you want to go check out the Mavericks this season, preseason, and regular season, get your tickets with Game Time. They specialize in last-minute tickets for the lowest price guaranteed. They're going to show you views from the seats within the app. That way, when you purchase your tickets, you know exactly what your vantage point's going to be. And we got a deal for you. First, download the app, search Game Time in your app store, big white letter G, black background, simple logo for you guys. You'll know it's Game Time. Create an account and use code CHATSPORTS to get $20 off your first purchase only. Terms apply there. Big series going on right now between the Rangers and Astros. Coop's going out to the ballpark today. Big win last night for the Rangers. So if you want to go check out some games at Globe Life, you could do that. And listen, I recommend buying tickets the day of the events because a lot of the time prices are going to drop and Game Time is going to get you those deals because they want to put butts in seats. So take advantage. Get started with Game Time. Code CHATSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase. And go check out some sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, etc. It's a good time. So shout out to Game Time for sponsoring today's show.
All right, what I think the big thing for Jaden Hardy is, he simply has to take his defense to the next level in order for Jason Kidd to trust him. He has not shown the ability on defense, especially guarding like the 2s and 3s, where he's a little bit of a bigger guard. He's about 6'4", 6'5". He just hasn't shown enough there, and I think in the postseason, Kidd wanted to play him, but he just had to play him in limited spurts because he knew he couldn't trust him on the defensive end. And we've talked about this almost ad nauseum at this point. If you defend, you will play for Jason Kidd. If you don't defend, your minutes will be limited. It happened with Christian Wood. It's happening with Jaden Hardy. And I'm not comparing those two guys, but it's similar to the fact that if you don't play defense, your minutes are going to be limited, plain and simple.
It kind of comes down to this. If you're a plus defender with limited offense or a plus offensive player with limited defense, Kidd's going to lean defense.
Absolutely, every time.
We've seen that. There's a reason they retooled the entire roster after his second year as the head coach because – they had some individual talent, especially offensively, but Christian Wood was so bad defensively that the kid was like, I can't play with this guy.
Yeah.
Like, my philosophies don't line up with what he does as a player. And, I don't think Jaden Hardy's in the Christian Wood mold of, like, maybe he's not a good locker room fit or whatever.
Oh, I don't think that at all.
I think he's a likable guy, and they like his mindset. And I'm not saying he doesn't try defensively. He just may not be that good defensively, but he's going to have to improve to get more minutes. And look, even a guy like Kyrie 10, 12 years into his career defended at a much better level last year. It's not like Hardy can't get better on that end. Hopefully that's what his focus is during the offseason and early on in camp when that comes around because we know he can score. We know he could shoot the basketball and get to the rack and do all those type of things, but he's going to have to improve defensively because if not, I do think he's probably your most intriguing trade chip right now. I think there are teams around the NBA that would look at him as like last offseason we were talking about him as a potential sixth man with his scoring ability. Is he still in that type of light? I don't know, but I saw him have an impact in the postseason last year. So I think, we've seen Nico make deadline deals before. You could see some kind of package where he is a piece to maybe bring in a defensive player in here. So
that's kind of where I see this thing heading. Is I think he's heading towards a deadline trade if the Mavs even feel the need to make one, and we'll obviously see what that looks like and how the first half of the season unfolds. But if he doesn't show that he can be in kids' rotation on a regular basis, I do think that Nico Harrison will try to take the opportunity to put him in a trade somewhere else. And I think he does have some value around the league, whether it be as a high-volume six-man scorer or someone – a reclamation project isn't the right word, but someone thinks they can develop him into his full potential. So I think he has value around the league, and maybe the Mavs just look at it and just cut bait after 2.5 years.
I could also see him going to like a bad team who helps facilitate a trade
and
as
he
a
could
third
score
team.
Like 15 a game.
Yeah, like he goes to like I don't know.
Detroit.
Portland's a bad example. They have 50 guards. But, like, a team of that ilk where, like, maybe the Mavs flip Maxi Kleber for a different piece and Hardy goes to a different team for, like, a second-round pick or something to help facilitate the main part of the trade. Like, I could absolutely see that being the case where he gets more minutes somewhere else, because I do think, you put him on a bottom 10 team in this league, like, he could potentially flourish and grow in terms of his value in the NBA even further. So how would you guys grade Jaden Hardy as a player, 2K style, scale from 1 to 100? I don't know, like 74?
You literally took the number out of my mouth. That's what I was going to say.
He's an NBA scorer, we know that, but he's a below average defender. So we'll have to wait and see, man. I think he's the most unknown heading into training camp of like what his role is. Because like I feel like the top 9, 10 guys pretty defined. We know Omax is in the rotation to start the year. Is Hardy? Is he not? Like, he's kind of right there on that edge, and I think that's where some competition is going to come into play.
I hope he's able to push, man. I hope he's able to make an impression on the coaching staff in training camp, and he really creates a selection problem for Jason Kidd, because that's always the best situation for a coach is when you have too many guys that you have to play and you have to make those tough decisions. So I hope he can do that.
No doubt about it. Little Olympic update. Australia bows out after
they blew a 24-point lead.
Yeah, it was a battle. They lost in overtime to Serbia, I think by what, 3 or 4 points?
Yeah.
Dante Exum, you mentioned he wasn't shooting the ball great, but I think he had like 10 points or so.
Yeah, he had 10 points. He missed a couple of big threes down the stretch for Australia. He played solid defense. Overall, I would say it was a pretty positive Olympic experience for Exum. And hopefully he can bring that into the Mavericks here in the 24-25 season. France and Canada are about to get underway. When you're watching this, that game will probably be on right then. So go check out Olympic field goal percentage leader Dwight Powell against France.
He's outscored Joel Embiid in the Olympics.
That's pretty unbelievable.
That is a fact. He's been solid for Canada, and good for him because Dwight, very likable guy. We all like Dwight. Just in today's NBA, doesn't have really a big role, but obviously a big opportunity for him and Canada to make a run. Potential crash course with Team USA, who tips off at 2:30 today as well. And by the way, if USA beats Brazil, they will face Serbia in the semis. A little rematch from group play where, 25-point winner.
Yeah, they won by 25.
So that should be a pretty favorable matchup. But listen,
you never know.
Anytime you're facing Jokic, if you have an off day, it's anything can happen. But check that out. We'll keep tabs with what's going on with the Olympics, especially Dwight Powell and the boys up north, and obviously Team USA. More Mavericks coverage to come. We'll talk to you guys soon. Go Mavs.
See ya.